The European Cybersecurity Certification Scheme for Cloud Services, or EUCS for short, is just around the corner, together with its inherent challenges and opportunities. But what does EUCS mean for a company like Robert Bosch GmbH? How can the MEDINA framework support stakeholders in their journey to be EUCS certified? This video will show how Bosch, in the context of the Horizon 2020 MEDINA project, has validated a contributed framework in an IoT cloud use case. Before talking about MEDINA and the referred IoT cloud case study, let us introduce some basic concepts related to EUCS. It all started back in 2019, when the European Cybersecurity Act was introduced. It proposed the notion of European cybersecurity certification schemes with three different levels of assurance, namely basic, medium, and high. And very important for MEDINA, the Cybersecurity Act also introduced the notion of continuously monitoring the cybersecurity compliance of ICT products, services, and processes. This is a very important concept for cybersecurity and a big differentiator between EUCS and other international schemes. Continuous compliance allows demonstrating that requirements and controls are effectively applied during a whole period of time. Finally, the Cybersecurity Act delegated in ENISA the responsibility for developing the European certification schemes, starting with EUCC for common criteria, followed by EUCS for cloud services, and currently also under development EU5G for 5G technologies. Assurance levels in EUCS were designed to minimize different types of cybersecurity risks, depending on the threat actor's profile. Each assurance level relates to a conformance assessment methodology, which ranges from self-assessments on the basic level to third-party assessments for high level of assurance, where the notion of continuous or automated monitoring is mandated. We will revisit this concept later on, because it is the starting point of our work in MEDINA. For the time being, it's worth also to mention that CENELEC, one of the two official standardization bodies in Europe, has been nominated to develop the corresponding technical specifications for EUCS, which are planned to see the light sometime during 2024. Are you curious about the notion of automated monitoring on EUCS? Let's look at this example, based on the draft version of the scheme as published by ENISA in its website. As we can observe, in this particular control called OPS 05, Protection Against Malware Implementation, we have two requirements, OPS 05.3 and OPS 05.4, which are mandating the cloud provider to automatically monitor the coverage and execution of anti-malware scans. Automation is a must-have in cloud environments, where complex architectures and high scalability needs forbid, in most cases, the implementation of manual compliance monitoring processes. Per se, European certification schemes will be voluntary. However, we don't have to forget that upcoming European cybersecurity regulations and directives, including the Artificial Intelligence Act, the NIS2 Directive, and the Cyber Resilience Act, establish that presumption of conformity will be based on the referred EU certification schemes like CC, CS, and 5G. But which are the implications of these cybersecurity certification schemes, regulations, and directives for a global company like Robert Bosch GmbH with presence in multiple regions and business sectors, ranging from mobility solutions, industrial technology, energy and building technology, to consumer goods? Let's take a look at the following example. In this slide, we can see a fictitious scenario where a robot lawnmower, let's suppose, is using a public cloud service to provide enhanced user experience through social networking. And also, this cloud service can be connected to a backend, which is hosted on the provider data center for billing purposes. So the question is, which European regulations, directives, and certifications are applicable in this simple fictitious scenario? I must say that there is no simple answer to that question, because from a holistic end-to-end perspective, we need to take into account underlying processes like DevOps, production, and distribution of our lawnmower. A simplified view of applicable regulations and certifications can be seen on the slide. For example, the AI Act applies for the computer vision components of our lawnmower. EUCS will be applicable for the cloud service, 5G for the communication between the lawnmower and the cloud service itself, and even an ISO 20001 certification for the on-premise backend. Of course, this is only an oversimplification of a real-world scenario. But even in this assumed use case, we can identify the potential overlaps which are shown on the text box. Take, for example, application scopes, security requirements between the different schemes, obligations to report, for example, vulnerabilities, the provision of evidence during certification processes, data classifications, etc., etc. What if, like in the case of Bosch, the very same product needs to be certified in the American or the Asian regions? From a certification scheme perspective, could continuous or automated compliance monitoring help in this scenario? What role plays the developed MEDINA framework? First, let us think on a futuristic, utopic world where cybersecurity certification processes are highly automated. What will be the difference with respect to the current state of practice, where traditional certification mostly relies on manual processes? Could you imagine reducing your EUCS certification cost and effort while increasing assurance thanks to the notion of continuous? What if evidence gathered during an EUCS certification could be reused to achieve, for example, an ISO 20001 certification or a BSI C5 attestation? That could be such an utopia. But how far are we from achieving this vision? That is actually the goal of our European project MEDINA, to provide a security framework for achieving continuous audit-based certification in EUCS. Our contributed MEDINA framework comprehends both technology and processes which are aligned to existing and upcoming standards like EUCS, therefore empowering early adopters. Furthermore, the contributed framework can be extended, as we will see later during this presentation, to support more schemes than only EUCS. The MEDINA consortium comprises pan-European partners, combining their unique expertise and vision to create a framework providing continuous audit-based certification aligned to EUCS. We have almost reached the end of the project's lifetime, meaning that the framework has been fully developed, prototyped, and is currently being validated by both Fabasoft in Austria and Robert Bosch GmbH in Germany, using use cases like the IoT cloud presented before in this video. Thanks to MEDINA, the envisioned IoT cloud scenario can leverage automation, trustworthy evidence and certification management, and standards in order to reduce manual labor and improve operational efficiency. Not only MEDINA can support auditors in assessing the documentation of the cloud provider thanks to artificial intelligence-based techniques known as natural language processing or NLP, but our framework also allows cloud providers to continuously monitor compliance and timely identify deviations which could result on a certificate being revoked. Last but not least, even regulators may benefit from MEDINA by realizing the increase of provided assurance thanks to the notion of continuous compliance monitoring. With time, it is our hope that regulators will empower and will embrace more automation and machine-readable formats in the cybersecurity certification schemes under their responsibility. We are in the final stages of validating the MEDINA framework in our Bosch IoT cloud use case, and the promising results obtained so far demonstrate that automation deserves a special place in the new European cybersecurity certification ecosystem. But don't forget, regulators will play a critical role in allowing automation to happen in EUCS and other certification schemes. Our experience in MEDINA tells us that the utopic vision of leveraging automation for cybersecurity certification processes is at reach. However, there is still more work to do for all involved stakeholders. Ongoing and upcoming European projects and initiatives will further pave the road, so let's continue investing efforts on this. MEDINA, leveraging automation, ensuring compliance, enhancing trust.